Hello, and welcome to Twisted Tree Yoga. My name is Lisa, and I'm so happy to have you here today. I'm going to do a 60-minute yin practice, and this practice today is focusing on the liver and the gallbladder meridians in the body. I don't know about you, but I have been feeling the effects of spring, of this time of transition and springing forth, right? It's associated with the element of wood, meaning that things are growing, things are starting to come up out of the ground. We're seeing a lot of flowers, we're seeing a lot of pollen in the air. I know my allergies have been acting up like crazy. And of course, we're all going through this change, this transformation that the virus is bringing into our lives. And I've been feeling a bit of frustration around this. I've been feeling some anger, I've got to be honest, about things that are happening, things that are changing, and feeling a resistance to that change. I'm kind of getting stuck in this kind of wooden stance. I'm not flowing or moving like a bamboo. I'm feeling more like an oak as far as allowing myself to be open to new opportunities and new things. So I'm hoping that this sequence is going to relieve some of that stagnation for you, maybe even invite in some clarity and a deeper breath into the practice. So we're actually going to start off standing in this particular sequence today. And when we're also practicing, I wanted to bring in one of the yogic philosophies called a niyama. So there are 10 of these philosophies. 5 are yamas and 5 are niyamas. And the niyama that I'd like to focus on with this liver gallbladder focus is Saucha. And Saucha has to do with purifying, which I felt was really, really appropriate for the liver and the gallbladder as they work together to help purify the body by using the bile salts to dissolve proteins, the oils of our food, and the things in our body that we need to eliminate. So it's this guardian of the body. And so when we're talking about Saucha, we're talking about coming into the present moment, to look at those ways in which you can purify your mind, your body, your spirit, whether that is through an intake of more water, a decrease of sugar or animal protein, or maybe a decrease of television and social media, to begin to quiet the mind, to create a little bit more loving attitude, a bit more compassion for yourself, to invite lightness into our bodies rather than this heavy feeling that we can get into when we're putting the things into our bodies that maybe we don't need in the moment. I find a really desperate need for chocolate right now, and also for snack foods, I know, like chips or salty things. So maybe decreasing some of those and increasing more fruits and vegetables and more experiences out in nature. And I like to reference this book called The Yamas and the Niyamas, Exploring Yoga's Ethical Practice by Deborah Adele. And she has a really great way of explaining these ethical practices for the layman, the person who might not be as well-versed in yogic philosophy, and putting it into a way that we can really get rid of a lot of the noise around some of the languaging in these practices. And so I invite you to, as she says, a lot of times we're living in the leftovers or we're preparing for what's to come instead of just, in my words, savoring the moment by enjoying the meal that's placed before us, the aromas, the textures, the flavors of each present moment, rather than allowing ourselves to be scattered and trying to multitask and do all these things, especially in this time of confinement when we feel like we need to do, even when we really need time to just be and allow ourselves that time to be. So with that in mind, we'll get started with the practice. Like I said, we're going to start off standing. We're going to move into dangling pose. Now, if you are uncomfortable with folding forward in a standing posture. You can do this seated in a chair and just fold forward over your thighs. You could also sit on the floor and just do what's called caterpillar, which is a forward bend. But we're going to actually start off standing. I'm going to get my technology out here to help us so we're not in the shape any longer than we need to be, which will be, for this particular posture, we're going to move into this for 3 minutes. And I'm going to probably get cut off as I stand up, but you'll see what's happening here in dangling pose. And as we move into the shape, I invite you to use a bit of a mantra in each shape, some kind of a positive affirmation, or maybe something that will help you release. And I've chosen some, and you can choose to use that in the shapes, or maybe you have something else that you'd like to say. So for this dangling pose, my invitation is to just say, may I be one with gravity, and allow the body, as you're folding forward, to feel this release in the low back, to feel an opening, compressing into the organs, particularly into the liver and the gallbladder. This is also a really good for the stomach meridians, and also the urinary bladder meridians that go up and down the sides of the spine. So we'll be stretching that, compressing into the liver, and hopefully feeling a nice release in the low back. So coming into the shape, you're going to take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, just hinge forward. Bend your knees a lot, so not a lot of straightening in the hamstrings or stretch. And just allow the head to dangle forward. This is called dangling pose. Hands just resting on the floor. If you're not getting into this much of a forward fold, that's fine. You might just be up here resting your forearms on your thighs, or maybe hands on a chair. So wherever you can find some ease in this forward fold, we're really just working for that compression. May I be one with gravity, allowing myself to open to gravity, feeling this spaciousness in the low back, particularly with the knees bent. When we straighten the knees, if you're feeling called to straighten your legs, feel free to do that as well. But maybe work on keeping a bend in the knees this time. And remembering our practice of yin is about time, it's about stillness, and it's about feeling into the edges, finding that sense of stretch or sensation, and just hanging there rather than forcing yourself into a deeper sensation. Find that first sense and stay there. Breathing deeply in and out. So when we inhale, we're compressing a bit more against the thighs. And when you're exhaling, feeling more of a release into the forward fold. Feeling into this idea of Saucha, purifying. You can close your eyes and bring your mind's eye to the organs, the liver and the gallbladder on the right side of the body, just underneath the rib cage. Although these meridians are associated with the organs, they're more associated with energy lines. Less than a minute left in this forward shape. Finding some stillness. Repeating your mantra, may I be one with gravity. Or maybe your mantra is, may I be open to releasing. Feeling the head hanging heavy, the shoulders relaxing, the belly compressing onto the thighs. Just feeling this change in perspective when we're on our heads. It's very calming, actually, to go into an inversion. Allowing the blood to flow to the head. Not recommended if you have high blood pressure or sinus issues. And then take a deep breath in, coming into a halfway lift. Lengthen, straightening your legs as much as feels comfortable. Press the tailbone back, shoulders back. Exhale, releasing forward, getting a bit more stretch and lengthening in the backs of the thighs. Feels so good. One more like that. You might have hands on shins. Getting even deeper into this shoulders drawing back, lengthening of the spine. And then exhale, placing your hands onto the mat. We're going to take the feet wider than the shoulders. I'm going to turn to face the camera here. So taking your feet wider, turning the toes out. So we're aligning the knees over and the toes here. So we want to make sure that we're feeling this alignment. And then once again, you could come down just into a slight squat, resting your elbows onto the knees. But now we're going to go into a full squat pose. And then, so hands will come down onto the mat. And release your hips towards the floor. Now, if you have blocks or maybe you've got some books, you could place a block underneath your hips. Once again, we're just working on sensation in the inner thighs and the groins here. You might press your elbows into the knees, squeezing in onto the elbows. And we'll just stay in this shape. If the wide-legged position doesn't work for you, there's always the option to bring the feet a little bit closer together and the elbows in front of the knees rather than wide through the elbows. We get a little bit more low back release in this particular variation. When our knees are wider, we're going to feel this more in the inner thighs and the groins. Pressing into those inner thighs, palms pressing together. May I quiet my mind, or may I be quiet in mind. Particularly in our yin practice, our minds can get very active. When we're asked to come into stillness of body, there's not a lot of movement. Our minds take over. Less than a minute here. So notice where your mind is going. May I be quiet in mind. Maybe closing down your eyes. And just allowing yourself to feel into the shape. Sensing the stretch, the lengthening, the opening, compression, all the places where you're feeling the different sensations. Staying with your breath. Deepening the exhales will help increase the relaxation into the shape. Deepening the inhales creates more activity. So in this practice of yin, we want to really get in touch with the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest, rather than our sympathetic fight or flight. We want to stay more yin, more introspective. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, release, hands down to the mat. And come down onto your shins here. Sitting back onto your heels, just take a moment. Closing down your eyes, just pause. Releasing any tension, anything that came up for you in that shape. And we might be releasing some anger. This is a liver gallbladder, I can't even say it, gallbladder focus. So you might find yourself feeling frustrated in some of these shapes. That's why I've picked some of them purposefully to create some frustration. And the next shape we're going to move into is called toes pose. And this is really going to work the bottoms of the feet. This one's really great for the fascia on the bottom of the feet. Couple of options here before we move into this. You might just want to sit onto a block or a cushion, just placing that underneath your hips here, particularly if your feet are super sensitive. Another option is to take a blanket or a pillow, maybe even a cushion, and place it behind the thighs, and right in the crevice of the knees. So when you sit back, you have this support. So you're not putting all of your weight back onto your feet. You're actually being supported forward a bit off of the toes. I'd rather have you do that than use muscular effort and hold yourself forward. Another option is to take your blocks or your books and put them in front of you and just rest your hands here. So finding that position in the shape. Now normally in my classes we do this 1 minute at a time, but today, since we're working really with the liver and the gallbladder meridians, I want us to stay in the shape for 2 full minutes. So you're going to reach back, move your pinky toes out of the way so they're playing fully in the pose. Another option, bring the ankles closer together. That's going to take a little bit of that sensation off of the thighs. Hands moving to your heart here. May I feel joy in the challenge. This is the mantra that I chose for this one. May I feel joy in the challenge. Allow yourself to settle in. Shoulders relax. Relax your jaw. Notice that you might start clenching your teeth, or maybe you're clenching your buttocks, or shoulders are coming up towards the ears. Just relax the body as much as possible. And breathe. Deepening the exhalation. I recommend 5 to 8 counts on the exhale. Noticing this might build up a bit of heat in the body. How is that heat that you're building up? How is that burning away some expectations, some anger, some frustration, creating clarity of mind, a lightness of being, challenging your body in a way. 1 minute here. Always feel free to come out of a shape if it's painful. We want challenge, but no pain. Stay connected. Feel the sensation in your body. Now, if some people have toes that won't bend, the big toe, particularly if you have bunions or have had surgery, or that bone has been fused or for whatever reason. So if that's the case, you can place a blanket underneath your ankles. Just roll it up, support the ankles so you're not necessarily completely on those toes or on the ball of your foot. Stay with your breath, just about 10 more seconds here. Notice what's happening in your mind. Breathe into the body. And then slowly inhale, come forward. Place your hands onto the mat and begin to tap out your toes here. Oh, yes, that is a challenging one for sure. It's such a good one. Giving our feet some love. Another option to stretch the top of the ankles is to rock back, hands behind your hips, and just lift your knees a little bit. Notice if you're feeling any negative sensation in the knees or the ankles. Please do not do this variation of stretch, but sometimes it feels really, really good. And slowly come forward. The next shape we're going to move into is a set of dragons. We're going to move into high dragon first, and then we'll move into a winged dragon. So I'll show you the variations. So dragon high, you might want to use your blocks here. A bolster is also nice, or a blanket. You might want to put a blanket underneath your the shin of the back leg, or the knee of the back leg. Now if you notice here, I'll just show a little example of using a blanket. If you have issues with your knees, what I've found is you can take the edge of the blanket just behind the kneecap. So if you notice here, hopefully you can see this, my knee is kind of hanging off of the top or in front of the edge of the blanket. So that's releasing any sensation on my kneecap. And then you'll bring your right knee forward, or right foot forward, and we'll come into this lunge. It's nice to have blocks here, but you don't necessarily need them. We're going to feel this into the quadricep and also a bit into the right hip. You can rest your elbows onto your thigh here as well. So this is a variation using the blanket underneath the shin. You could also have your hand on a block or books. here to help support you. You could also bring the blocks inside of your inner right thigh. So we want to have the shin lining up over the ankle. So we'll come into this shape. We'll take 2 minutes in the variation. So the first one is high dragon. The other option is winged dragon. So I'll show you that variation looking at the camera. So with that right foot forward, you're going to heel toe the right foot a little bit wider towards the edge of the mat, drawing your toes back and moving onto the edge of your right foot, allowing your knee to just drape out to the side. You can use your blocks or maybe just hands onto the mat inside of your right foot. And then from here, you're just going to allow the knee to open up. So you're going to feel this a little bit more into the outer hip on the front foot, on the front leg. And then you're still coming forward into the left thigh. So we're getting a stretch into the psoas, into the front of the quadricep, and also now we're working on to the inner joint. So these are the options, and we haven't started it yet. So we're going to go into the shape. We'll start off with the right foot forward and the left shin back. Now if you want, you can also have the blanket just on the knee if that feels okay, or just have no blanket at all. So stepping our right foot forward, coming into our high dragon to start. I'm going to move blanket back so my knee is dangling off the edge, so I'm not putting any pressure on my kneecap. And then once again, make sure that the knee and the ankle are tracking over each other. You might take your foot a little bit wider and then just put your hands on the inside of your right thigh. Feeling this into that the left thigh. And then allowing your shoulders to relax. Once again, you could just be resting your right elbow onto the right thigh. And then notice if your knee is starting to come out to the side. We want to keep all 4 corners of the right foot on the mat. So if you're noticing your big toe is lifting up. So for this, let's just use the mantra, may I be whole. May I be whole. Breathing into the shape. Noticing how your low back feels. We might need to come forward a little bit more so we're not compressing as much into the low back. Maybe hands onto blocks, books, or on the floor. Feel your inner right thigh dialing up, or inner left thigh, dialing up towards the ceiling. And that outer left hip kind of makes its way more towards the floor. So you're really feeling this into the psoas. And just here for about 10 more seconds in high dragon. Now if you're feeling it too much, you can always back out of that stretch. Now if you want to move into that winged dragon, heel toe your right foot a little bit wider. Come back onto your heel and land on the edge of your right foot. You can rest your forearms down onto your blocks or onto the floor if you have that flexibility. And coming into the left quadricep a little bit deeper. Make any adjustments to get the sensation that you need. And here, may I be united in mind and heart. May I be united in mind and heart. Breathing into the shape. Noticing where you're feeling the sensations. Another aspect of Saucha or purifying is to release our expectations, our memories or experiences of certain things, certain foods, certain interactions, and try to be present with a childlike mind. That mind of curiosity, of courage, of just being in the moment, enjoying whatever it is that is going on without expectation, without a lens of experience. Sometimes this idea of being an adult or being mature can really create filters on our experiences, permitting or not allowing us to really see what's going on now, but projecting from what happened before. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, if you're in Winged Dragon, bring that knee back to center, coming onto the sole of your foot. Walk your hands back. Oh, slowly press yourself back. Oh, feels so good. Stepping your right foot back to meet your left. Now from here, allow yourself a few breaths to take some counter shapes, maybe pressing through the heel of that back leg. And then the opposite side. Maybe a nice down dog feels good here. Pressing the hip bones high, just walking it out. Allowing yourself to release any tension that came up in that shape. Really felt that in my psoas on the left side. And once you feel complete with some movement here, we'll take that same sequence on the other side. So we'll start off with the left foot forward this time. And you might want to use a blanket. My opposite side is not quite as sensitive for me, so sometimes I don't like to use a blanket. I think I will today, just to keep it equal. And once again, make sure that you're stacking your knee over the ankle here. It's okay sometimes to pass the knee over the ankle, but we don't want the heel to lift in this shape. We want to keep the heel grounded and just bring that knee over the ankle. And then coming into our shape, you might heel toe your left foot a little wider and place those blocks inside. Resting your left elbow onto the thigh. Maybe untucking your toes, or you can keep the toes tucked if you prefer. May I be whole. Coming back to that mantra on this side. May I be whole. Sometimes we feel very fragmented by our day-to-day activities, trying to do too much. And sometimes when we multitask, at least I know for myself, I might not necessarily have as good of a result as if I were focused on one thing at a time. So notice where your mind feels fragmented, where your day feels fragmented, or relationships. And just say, may I be whole. Allow yourself to slow down. I know we're being forced to slow down now. And hopefully we'll maintain some of that release of momentum when we're out and about, a little bit more quote-unquote normalcy. I know we keep saying that we'll never go back to the way things were, and that's a good thing. Evolution is the projection of being human. Staying with your breath. And if you'd like, setting yourself up for Winged Dragon. So heel toe your left foot a little wider, drawing your toes back, coming onto the edge of your foot so your knee now comes out to the side. Make sure knee and foot are aligned. And you can place your forearms onto your blocks or your books. Hands could just rest inside of your foot onto the mat. This is a nice option as well. You don't have to have props in this series. You don't need blankets, you don't need books or blocks. A lot of these shapes are just using our bodies and the mat or the floor. May I be united in my mind and my heart. May I be united in mind and heart. Stay with your breath. Just about a minute left here, not even. Notice where you're feeling a sense of extension, compression, sensation. Stay here with me rather than thinking about what you might be able to do after this class or something that happened earlier. Remember, are you in the leftovers of your day, or are you preparing for the future, or are you in this delicious gourmet meal that we're creating together on the mat? Feeling into the textures, and the taste and the aromas of each shape. Inhale deeply and exhale slowly. Press it back. Oh my goodness. Dragons? I must say dragons are not my favorite. That's okay. We all have our favorites and our not favorites, and usually we're told that we should be doing the ones that we don't want to do because those are usually the ones that our body needs the most. And I must say, with the way I've been feeling, that this liver and gallbladder sequence has been actually a lifesaver for me. I tend to spiral into thoughts of what I should be doing and how can I create something in this time of solitude and quiet. And sometimes there's nothing there. Creatively, there's no clarity. All there is muck. And I love that image that we use in yoga of the lotus flower, of this idea that out of this mucky, muddy water, this beautiful plant, the lotus, looks for the light. And it slowly makes its way up through this muddy water, this murkiness, this muddled mind, so to speak. And as it bursts out of the surface of the water, a flower, this beautiful bloom, opens up. But it doesn't sit on the water. There's a protection, these leaves underneath that allow it to float, and the stem continues to rise, on which all of the lotus petals are apparent and visual, and you can see them, and they're protected. They're no longer drowning, so to speak, in the water. They are buoyant, they are light, there's clarity, there is beauty, there is life. And I love that image, and I like to hold on to that when I get kind of stuck in the muddiness of our day-to-day life. So the next shape we're going to take is child's pose. Oh, we love child's pose. Child's pose is an introspective, it's a healing shape, it's a very restful shape. Now, if you have any issues with your knees, you can definitely take child's pose on your back. So I will show you the variations. So for child's pose, normally the hips are back towards the heels. The knees are wide, so you want your knees to be fairly wide here. So we're feeling a sensation in the inner groins. The liver line actually comes up into the groins and travels up into the lungs. So we want to activate that line here on the inner thighs. And big toes to touch, and you'll reach your arms forward. Forehead resting onto the mat. Now if that's uncomfortable, you can place a blanket or a block or book underneath your forehead. So we find ease in the cervical spine, the neck. Now if your knees are, like I said, a bit sensitive, then you're going to lie down on your back and take the knees wide. So kind of like a happy baby, but the knees will come wide. So imagine that you're doing what I just showed, but you're on your back doing it. So big toes will come to touch. You could have your hands on your thighs here or just out to the side. You could even reach your arms overhead, so you're getting that nice stretch through the arms here, and just allow the knees to open up wide. So you'll take whatever variation works in your body, and we're going to be in this shape a little bit longer than the others, about 5 minutes actually. We're going to hang out in child's pose. It's a lovely reflective shape. And while we're in child's pose, I'd like you to use the mantra, "May I be healed." And if that doesn't resonate with you, then of course use something different. But may I be healed. Reaching through the fingertips originally, lengthening the arm bones, feel the elbows rise. Knees are wide, feel the sensation in your body. And then allow the elbows to rest, maintaining the length that you've created, but keep a little bend in the elbows so you're supported by the floor. Maybe a little rock of the forehead on the mat, just stimulating the third eye center between the eyebrows. The center is actually in alignment with the pineal gland, which is in the center of the brain. It's affected by light. So our sense of sight, our vision, clarity. And the eyes are actually affected by the liver and the gallbladder lines. The gallbladder line actually starts at the corner of the eye and makes its way around the side of the head, around the ear, and down the neck, in front of the body. Kind of wraps around the side of the body. So it makes a little zigzag under the armpit, down the side of the rib cage, over the hip, down the side of the leg, the outer leg, and ending on the fourth toe. So it exits out the fourth toe. The liver line comes in at the big toe and travels up the inner thigh, wraps around the groins, and moves inward towards the lungs, the liver, and gallbladder. Continuing to travel up the side of the neck, side of the head, ending at the corner of the eye. So we might have issues with vision, blurry vision, maybe even creativity, that internal vision, that creativity can be clouded. May I be healed. May I be healed. Allow your breath to be soft. Feeling the compression of the ribs slightly onto the thighs. Feel a release, a quieting of the mind, a clearing of the thoughts, making space for your vision. Resting in compassion. Finding the joy of healing. Less than a minute here. Take a deep breath in. Slide your hands underneath your shoulders, and as you exhale, rock forward onto your shins, coming into a tabletop position. Bring your knees closer together. Not a whole lot of counter shapes here, just allowing maybe some cat-cows here. Gazing forward, shoulders draw back, and draw the belly in, arching the spine, gazing towards your belly button. Rocking forward and back. Nice. Now the next shape we'll take is a supported fish pose. This is a nice heart opener. It's a pose that I love to do, opening up through the heart center, getting a nice stretch into the liver line, the gallbladder. Not much on the gallbladder line, but into the liver line. We'll be here for about 3 minutes in this shape. You could use blocks if you'd like, or maybe you want to use a blanket. So something to create a lift through the heart center. So just taking a blanket, I just had it folded, and you can fold it in half, or using blocks here. I like to use blocks. You can place the block at the bottom of the shoulder blades, just on the low setting, or I'm going to place mine on the second setting here, and then a block behind the head. Like I said, you don't need big props here. A blanket would definitely be a nice touch. You can keep the knees bent, or maybe knock the knees together, or straighten your legs out for more stretch. So really getting this opening through the heart, getting a nice stretch to the front of the body, compressing the organs slightly. Opening up, shoulders relaxing away from the ears. Breathing here. And allowing your mantra to be, may I be love, feeling into the heart center. May I be love. And may I be open to love. Sometimes we like to give, and we're not so great at receiving. Allow yourself to be open to receive. Releasing the shoulders, relaxing your jaw. One more minute here. deep breath in. If your legs are extended, as you exhale, bend one knee and then the other. So never bend both knees at the same time. Take one at a time. And then reaching behind, rolling onto one elbow, releasing any props from behind your back. And allowing the shoulders to release down and relax. Taking any counter shapes here, you can reach your arms overhead or maybe draw your knees in towards your chest, a little rock from side to side. The next shape we're going to move into is a twist, and it's called Twisted Roots. You can just take a gentle twist if you prefer. Twisted Roots gives us a little bit more sensation. And so you're going to start off with knees in towards your chest. And then move the knees away. So we're aligning the knees over the hips. Your shins are parallel, feet are flexed back, just like you fell out of a chair. Now, we want to draw the knees in for Twisted Roots. You'll cross your, let's cross the right knee over the left. You'll lift and shift your hips towards the right, and then allow your knees to drape to the left. Arms extending out to the side, and lift your left shoulder blade out of the way. So sometimes it feels like you're kind of on the edge of the shoulder. And then from here, you'll just allow the knees to drape over to the side. So essentially your right foot becomes a bit of a prop for the left knee or the left shin. Now, if this is too much in your body, you can always just bend both knees and come into an easy twist, or you can extend the bottom leg out and just keep the top knee bent. So a lot of options in this shape. Twists are a really great way to will compress on the organs, to provide this release, this detoxification of the torso and the body. So we're really compressing, draw the belly in, and press the right hip away. And as you exhale, feel the belly button twist a little bit more towards the left. Allowing the right shoulder to rest down. Now, if you find that your arm is up off the floor, your shoulder will not rest, really good idea to place something underneath the legs on the left side. This will give you a little bit more lift, allowing the shoulder to relax, because I really want the upper back to feel rested here. Oh, and hopefully you had a mantra. I had one, may I release what is weighing me down. But feel free to use whatever you might have already come up with, since we only have about a minute left in the shape. So may I release what is weighing me down. Again, that feeling of lightness and clarity that will come on the release of the twist. Right now we're allowing the body to feel twisted. We're moving the spine. Yoga is a practice of really manipulating the spine, allowing it to stay lubricated and nourished. If we're not moving the body much, we tend to get stagnation. Another sign of liver imbalance, that stagnation. Promoting initiative, promoting clarity of mind. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, draw your knees back to center. Scoot your hips over to the left and place your right foot down onto the mat. Give a little windshield wiper of the knees here. Allow the back to settle, the hips to release. And we'll take that on the other side. Lift and shift your hips to the right. Oops, sorry. Twisted Roots. Went the other way. So once again, draw the knees up so they're aligning over the hips. This time cross your left gently over the right, just like you would at the table. Now we'll place the hands on the floor, lift and shift your hips to the left, and then allow the knees to drape to the right. Once again, you might place something underneath your knee. You could place a book or a blanket here if this feels like it's too much of a twist. This side of my body is a little bit more tight, so I like to put some kind of prop underneath me. And so the mantra on this side, after we released what's weighing me down, may I connect with peace in each moment. May I connect with peace in each moment. Breathing deeply, feel the left hip gently moving away as you inhale. And as you exhale, move the belly button in towards the spine and feel the belly twist a bit more towards the left. That left shoulder is down, lifting the right shoulder if it feels like you're kind of on the edge. And just breathe. Feel that compression into the organs. Now we're getting a little bit more of a compression into the liver side. The other side we were compressing onto the pancreas. Pancreas filters more of the sugar enzymes. And the liver works with the fats and proteins of the body. It's really feeling into the functioning, the beautiful workings of our body. How perfect our mechanism was set up to work. And how when we pollute the body in ways that is overworking the organs, the blood, the energy, how it taxes the body, how we feel sluggish, how we don't perform as well as a mechanism. We tend to drag, cloudy in thought, weak in body. Just about a minute here. Nope, not even. About 30 seconds. One day I will not be using my electronic technology for timing. Right now I don't trust my internal clock. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, belly in, slowly unwind, come back to center, and just realign your spine here. Allow your hips to relax onto the floor. That little windshield wiper here. And gently draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a little hug, rocking from side to side. If you have a blanket available or some kind of covering, I want to grab that now as we move into Shavasana. Make any final adjustments. Maybe you want to take Happy Baby, reaching up for the outsides of the feet, taking those knees wide, pressing the low back into the mat. This is such a really nice release of the spine. And then take a deep breath in. Inhale, forehead towards the knees. And as you exhale, release your legs long onto the mat, arms out to the side, palms facing up. Tucking the shoulders gently behind, allowing the shoulder caps to release away from your ears. Maybe putting a blanket over your body or maybe just over the hips. Lovely grounding effect of a blanket on the hips. And if you want, you could have your hands resting on your belly or one hand on your heart, one hand on the belly. As you settle here for the next few moments, I'd just like you to connect to your breath. Nothing left to do. No sensations, just allow your natural breath to guide your mind. From nose to navel. Inhaling fully and exhaling completely, belly button dipping towards the spine on the exhale. Inhaling from navel to nose, feeling the belly expanding. This element of wood for springtime, ruled by the liver and gallbladder. Moving the energy, the stagnation of the coolness, the cold of winter. Stimulating our buds to begin to ripen and bloom. But with this energy of spring, this renewal, remind yourself to stay present, to not be in a rush for what comes next, to marinate in each beautiful moment, particularly now that we have slowed down. Noticing if you're worried about the future, about money, about what comes next. Feel into the abundance of your life. Feel into your health. Even if you're sick, or even if you're suffering or struggling, there's always something or someone that we can be grateful for. Purify your mind. Purify your body. One thing to lighten your load. Always feel free to stay in your Shavasana as long as you'd like. If you are ready, begin to deepen your breath. Making some small movements, fingers and toes, reawakening your body here. Reaching your arms overhead, your toes away from you, reawakening as if you just woke up. And then drawing one knee at a time in towards your chest, rolling on to your right side. Pause here. And then slowly press yourself up into your seat. Finding a comfortable seat here. Hands to heart center. As we bow, chin to chest, acknowledging each other across the miles, across the airwaves. Thanking yourself for making it to your mat, to release, to open, to lighten. To each and every one of your beautiful lights, I bow. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel, Twisted Tree Yoga. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Don't forget to subscribe and like this channel if you enjoyed this practice today. I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.